I'm Sara Herzberg, and this is my skill demonstration video. First, I'll show you how to properly hold a child using neck support. So you want to keep your hand on the back of its head so that the head doesn't fly back. And then you do the same thing when you're rocking the baby too. You want to keep the neck support. And then you want to use care when you're holding an infant to avoid shaken baby syndrome. And this happens when the baby is moved rapidly and the brain will move and start bleeding and everything. And it can cause serious brain damage, and so you just want to make sure that the head is always supported. To avoid shaking your baby, relieve stress by taking a walk or having your spouse or someone else in your family care for the child while you take a break. Never shake your baby. Ways to comfort your baby when it's crying. You can talk or sing to your baby, swaddle your baby by wrapping it tightly in a blanket, or hold your baby close to your chest so it can hear your heartbeat. You can rock or bounce your baby, or go on a car ride with your baby. Sometimes babies will cry because they just have gas bubbles, so you always need to burp your baby. And two different ways you can are by holding it over your shoulder or by having it sit straight up on your lap. You can feed your baby in lots of different positions. One way is by cradling the baby with a bottle, and then you can also breastfeed your baby, which is obviously just holding it. And then you can also feed your baby sitting straight up in your lap or laying down in your lap with a bottle. And then it's best to not heat your bottle in a microwave because it can heat really unevenly. But if you need to, then you want to make sure that you mix it up before you feed it, because then it gets the heat all distributed. And then also make sure that you check the temperature. You can do it right on your wrist before you feed your baby to make sure it's not too hot. But then there's also machines and stuff that can help you to warm a bottle, or you can do it with warm water. And then you can either breastfeed or formula feed. And the benefits for breastfeeding are that it's free, it burns calories, you can bond with your baby because it's your baby will be right up against you and you're looking into its eyes and it can hear your heartbeat and all of that stuff. And then when you're breastfeeding, it's always ready and there's no preparation. When you bathe your baby, you can do it at first when your baby is small. You probably would sponge bathe your baby because the umbilical cord stump can't get wet because it needs to dry out before it can fall off. And so then but until the umbilical cord falls off, then after that you can bathe your baby in either a sink or a baby tub, and just keeping the neck support and being really gentle the entire time. But once your baby can sit up unassisted, then you can move into a larger full-size tub and bathe your baby there. When newborns are in the first weeks after being born, newborns generally sleep 12 to 20 hours a day. And so for a good sleeping environment for babies, you want to keep them in a quiet, cool, and dark room. And to prevent SIDS, sudden infant death syndrome, use a firm mattress and keep all stuffed animals and blankets out of the crib. And then also never sleep with your baby in your bed. You can either use cloth or disposable diapers, and cloth diapers can save you money, but some diaper services are very expensive. However, cloth diapers are less absorbent, meaning you have to change them more often, so that's kind of a hassle. And then disposables are more convenient and always ready and there, and it's easy to just throw them away once you're done. However, when you're changing a diaper, make sure that you always have a clean surface and clean hands, and then when you're wiping a baby, wipe them from the front to the back to avoid infections and stuff like that. And then also, when you're dressing your baby should always wear one more layer than you have on. So if you have on a sweatshirt, then the baby needs to have one more layer than that. And then you never want any strings or anything extra hanging off of them just because it's always like a risk to them. And then also, babies hate when you have clothes that go over their head, so it's best to have something that will zip either like up the front or the back. And then parents need to be a good role model for their child and engage their child in good eating and exercise habits, because children learn everything that they know like from their parents in the first couple years. And so then parents need to trust their instincts, because generally they know what's best for their child. And then also, parents should never push their child to do more than they can. So you should never like make them eat more or like do more physical activity than like the child is saying that they can do. And then the summary of like the experience with the baby simulator, I thought for me it was really like eye-opening to see how demanding a newborn baby actually is, because I've never really been around such young infants. And so then for me it was just like, it was really educational to like realize that that is like a reality that lots of people live in, and I know that I would never want to have to care for a child when I'm this young and like this unprepared, I feel like. So it made me realize that like it's a big task to take care of a child, so I would never want to do it like before I was ready. Alright, it's always important that you use a car seat in the car with your infant, because it provides just extra support for them. And it's really good for like if you were to get in an accident, because they're just like enclosed in here. And it crosses like across their chest and then between their legs. They're really secure. And then you want to use it because if you were to get into an accident, it would like help kind of deflect anything that would happen to them. And because seats and seat belts in cars are generally too large for like how infants, so it's more proportional to them. And then it's very important that you use the car seat that's the right size, because there's basically three main types. You have the rear-facing one that your child uses up until about 2 years old, or until they're like big enough to grow out of it, and then they move into a front-facing car seat, and then into a booster seat. So then you just basically, there's like age times that you move up to each one, but then also just as your child grows in weight and height, then they can grow up to the new level.